In progress.
You don't need to record it. Although if I turn it off, I'll forget to turn it back on. So maybe I'll just leave.
Well, everybody will come and we'll have.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with there. No idea. No idea. Okay. All right.
Hold on just a second, folks. Seems like we're having a little bit of internet issue, so I'll share my screen in just a sec. Hang tight.
Yeah. It's so dang dark in here.
Okay, so while Kelly is getting that set up and figured out, everybody can hear me good?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for jumping on. We're gonna leave Kelly kind of spotlighted as the main person today, and then we're gonna use the chat for any questions that might come up that like pop into your brain as she's speaking. So you are welcome at any time to throw questions in the chat, and I'll either answer or I'll kick them to Kelly when we kind of take breaks in between sections. Cool. Did I lose her again? Yep, sure did. There you are. You can unmute, Kelly. You can just leave yourself unmuted since I'm not in the room anymore.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Hold on just a sec.
It says your bandwidth is low.
Everybody see my screen? All right, great. Welcome everybody to the information session here on Cultural Alliance of York County Resources. I'm Kelly Gibson, President of the Cultural Alliance of York County. Also joining us today on the webinar is Rita Whitney, Director of Communications and Engagement, and Jennifer Glassmeyer, our Campaign Director. So thanks everyone for tuning in and jumping on. And we'll be recording this and posting this information after this session on our website, culturalyyork.org. And we'll have our contact information in this session as well. So first, we'll step on the role of the Cultural Alliance in York County. We were founded in 1999, and we're the only central United Arts Fund in Central PA. So we've invested $12.2 million in arts and culture organizations and touched thousands of residents through this programming. We advocate, convene, and steward dollars to our arts and culture community. This is going to be the high level version, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what we offer. So for organizations, and that's arts and culture organizations, we have a mission partnership that is longstanding partners of the Cultural Alliance. That's every 3-year cycle renewal of that partnership, and organizations have to be invited to apply to that level of funding. Organizations start with us on funding with the Impact Partnership, and that's an annual competitive grant that we run for operations. Again, it's operational funding, very different than project or program focused. This operational funding goes to any dollars you need to further your mission. We don't ask what you use those dollars for. For us, it's really just making sure you can do the good work that you do. That we'll talk more about the impact partnership, since that's a competitive grant that comes out every year. Currently, the Belmont Theater, Dream Rights Center for Community Arts, Theater Arts for Everyone, Northern Railway, and Susquehanna Folk Music Society received those grants from us in 2021. And what we'll talk about today also is our partnership with the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts to re-grant out their resources. Those are for groups that are in York, Adams, Franklin, and Fulton County, and they're known as Pennsylvania Partners in the Arts. There's different grants available for these different organizations, and they have programmatic, mostly focused and project focused. So we'll talk about what the differences with those are. And again, we also offer grants for creatives in our community. We have just launched the Creative Entrepreneur Accelerator program, and we'll talk a lot more in detail about that. But that's really getting resources in addition, not just grant funding, but resources, business development resources into the hands of artists and creatives around our community. So we'll talk about some of that in more detail. We also offer the Artist Innovator Award. It is an annual prize given to 2 York County-based artists for excellence in their work. That we just awarded to 2 artists in our community. Wakenda Williams Casey for ballet and her company work with Black Swan Ballet, and with Ralph Washington, who is a musician in our community. And so we have that artist prize annually. As I said, it's $10,000 for each prize, and we have 2 winners every year, and that is pulled from our art profiles on york365.com. In addition to that, we also have another partnership with the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts, which is Arts in Education. We employ teaching artists all throughout our region to work with different populations and teach through their art. So we have artists that work in school settings, in community centers and libraries, with nursing homes that really work with different populations and use their art to teach and really reach into those communities. So that's something where we have another pathway for artists to earn, make dollars with doing their work. That's always something we're looking for, new teaching artists to join our roster and work with different folks in different community settings. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and dive into the impact partners. And as I said, that is a competitive grant. And what's really interesting about the impact partnership is it's an annual grant, but it's for operations, which is very different, as we said, than program and project funding. So it's an unrestricted grant. The dollars can be used for whatever you need to use them for. So the grant is really for any nonprofit 501c3 organization in York County that has arts and culture at the core of its mission. So, as we talked about, there's, yes? Did you say something, Rita?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
no.
Okay, so, the amount of funding that's available in that partnership is up to $10,000. That is determined by 2 things: the score that you receive from our panelists and your operational budget. So an organization's operational budget, the score determines a percentage of that budget up to $10,000. So, you have to be physically headquartered in York County, in good standing with the IRS, have a 501c3 status. You have to have been in operation for 3 years, and arts and culture history as the core of your mission. We have great organizations that have art-based programs, but their mission is not arts-based. So we only fund arts-based organizations in this tier through the impact partnership, if that is their core mission. And so our timeline for 2022 is we'll open that application in January 17th. It'll be due February 25th. And then our panelists will do site visits. They actually visit the applicants who go through the first part of the process and learn about their programs and mission. And then they bring that back to our panel to discuss it. So they really become your sort of advocate in the room about what you do for the community. And then we announce those impact partners in early May and award them that fund. So like we said, that's a competitive grant, and you can visit culturalyyork.org to apply. in January when that grant opens. Okay. Now we're going to talk about grants that we administer on behalf of Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. This is a brand new grant. They had not had this pathway before COVID. It's called the Program Stream Entry Track. And this again is through the state council that we administer. So it's for organizations that are York, Adams, Franklin, or Fulton County, have an arts-based mission, or it could be a non-arts organization with a very strong arts program. The budget for that would be $200,000 or less. So they're looking for smaller projects and they're smaller organizations to fund through this track. Okay, so a $2,000 to $3,000 grant per organization. A good example of a program stream grantee that we have is Springettsbury Parks, right? Springettsbury Township Parks does not have arts as its core mission, but they have an entire series of live free concerts that they do every summer, their summer concert series. That's an arts-based program that can be funded through the program stream track. So to give you some ideas of what you're looking at. Okay, so eligible organizations still has to be a nonprofit, but you can also use a fiscal sponsor. So if you are a community program and you don't have an actual organization 501c3, you can have a fiscal sponsor that does lend you their 501c3. If you need more information about fiscal sponsorship, we can talk about that when you contact us. But fiscal sponsors can also be used here. You can be a unit of government or school district. An annual revenue has to be less than $200,000, and you have to have a history of at least 1 year of arts programming before you can apply. So that's important to note too. They want you to have at least a year under your belt. This is going to open on November 29th this year. It'll be through our website, again, culturalyork.org, and it'll be due February 15th. There's no extensions. It's the Pennsylvania Council's deadline. And they want you to apply for activity that happens between September 1st of next year of 2022 and August 31st of 2023. That is their fiscal year at the state level. So starting in September of next year, going through August of the following year. So anything that happens within that time, any program within that time frame, you can apply for a grant. So as an organization, if you're an arts-based organization, you can apply to us for an impact partnership. And if you have a really strong arts program, you can also apply for program stream entry track, as long as you meet those different levels of funding. You cannot apply for multiple Pennsylvania Council grants we administer. That is the difference. You can apply for our grant and a Pennsylvania Council grant we administer, but you can't apply for two of the same PCA grants. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second, because there's two different grants they've launched this year, and it's an either or not both type of grant. So I'll go right into that. This is AOAP. AOAP is arts and it's arts and cultural organizations and programs. That's what the AOAP stands for. This is for larger organizations. So you're going to want to choose program stream entry track if you're smaller, under $200,000 budget organization, or a smaller program. And you're going to want to choose AOAP to apply for if you're larger. This is for groups that are bigger, all right, that have an over $200,000 budget. You can't apply for both. You have to choose one or the other of these tracks. And this, again, is like what we talked about in program stream. It can be used for operations, programs, or projects. And it is based on budget size. So the PCA doesn't support more than 35% of any program or organization, and it usually supports less. We don't know how much this would be because you go directly through the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts to apply for this grant. So they're going to use a formula to determine what your final amount will be based on your budget size. But again, this is a pool will probably yield more in grant dollars than you would get from the program stream entry track. So they want larger organizations to go through this pathway. The great news about this pathway is if you're successfully funded in this entry track, you could roll over into the AOAP more permanent track in successful funding years afterwards, where you are then already in. You have to be invited to apply for that now, but this is the way you get into that more permanent funding track of AOAP dollars. And so really, again, you have to be a nonprofit tax exempt organization, or you can use a fiscal sponsor. You have to have annual revenue larger than $200,000, and you have to have at least a history of arts programming. Again, if you have a very strong arts-based program with a very large budget, and you're not an arts-based organization, you could still apply for AOAP for that program, right? Or if you're an arts-based organization, you could use this for your own operations. So again, more operational funding. You can pay your staff salary, rent with an AOAP grant. Something to note about this particular grant, it is reimbursed. What that means is when you apply and are successfully granted an AOAP grant and they tell you what that award amount is, you then have to show receipts. They have special forms you fill out, receipts that you've already spent down that grant before they give it to you. So they want you to expend the funding first, and then they'll reimburse you the cost of that. So that example would be, if you are an AOAP grantee, you receive an award amount of, let's say, $10,000. You plan to use that award amount to pay your staff. You will have to show payroll receipts that you've paid that much out before you get issued the funding. It's good to know that when it's in a reimbursed grant, because then you understand that you have to expend the funds first. You have to outlay the cost before you receive the grant. It's good to keep that in mind when you apply. In case you're counting on this grant to make something possible, that's not really a good use for this grant. This grant is really for something you're already going to pay for anyway, and this will then alleviate that cost for you. So it's for a program you're already going to run, it's for your own operations you're already going to pay, and then you can have this after those grants are expended. So I know that can be really confusing. It's a new process for us too. They changed to this a couple of years ago, the reimbursement instead of paying up front. The program stream entry track grant we talked about, that is a grant that is not a reimbursement grant. That is a grant that you would get for that program at the time that it's approved and sent from the state. So it's not one that has to be reimbursed. So it's different. Okay, we're just about to jump in to talk about the resources for our individual artists, but I see there's a few things in the chat. Did you want to have any questions answered before we move on?
There's some stuff in the chat, but I don't think there are questions. But if anybody has any questions, you are welcome to either drop it in the chat or unmute and ask. I know most of you are more on the individual side than the organizational side, but we can still be helpful.
Okay. No one has any questions on the organizational side. We'll jump right into the Creative Entrepreneur Accelerator program. Okay.
And we're around, you can find us. So if something comes up later.
Okay, this is brand new for everybody, including us. This is something that's a brand new partnership we've opened. It's a rolling application, meaning it never opens. It opens now and it doesn't close. We just will periodically review the letters of interest that come in and start moving people into the pipeline. So the grants are distributed quarterly. So January, March, June, and September is around the timeframes that we'll actually be putting funding into the community. So really, this is a new way for us to provide resources to creative entrepreneurs. And it's more than just dollars. We have a lot of experience now for the past 2 years working with artists and providing professional development grants. And what we come to find is there's a lot of times where you have a great idea to move your creative practice forward, but it may not be ready for funding just yet. It may need more help. And we've tended to find that connections to what's available out there are hard to come by. It's kind of confusing. Who do you contact if you have a great idea, if you want some mentorship or need to consult with, let's say, a marketing plan or develop a business plan? It's not always easy to find out where to go for that. So this is why we have partnered with our Small Business Development Office in Shippensburg that works with the York clients, with Susquehanna SCORE, and with the York County Economic Alliance to be that portal, that one place where you can go and put your idea, and we then help navigate you to the right resource to help you through it. So we're going to be providing resources in that way, as well as we have grants that we can use to help this idea take off from $500 to $2,500. Most average awards will be under $2,000, but that's available. So we start with a letter of interest, which is a really simple form from our website, which lets us know kind of what your idea is and what you're looking to picture. And then we take that letter of interest and we pair you with a mentor from Susquehanna SCORE, if that's really where you belong, or we contact the Small Business Development Office, which provides free consultation to talk with you about the idea and see if there's ways that they can help you shape it and strengthen your business case. There's networking opportunities we can share with you with other business owners around the community. And then we also have community navigators that we will be employing. Those folks directly work hand in hand with our applicants to walk them through the process, to answer some questions they may have, to provide them connections to other artists that might really be of benefit to learn from and work with. And then those navigators and our folks over at the other business offices will then send a recommendation to us to fund the idea as you get it more workshopped and in a better place. So it's a process. The letter of interest sort of kicks that process off, and that process takes as long as it needs to take. We want to make sure you have a warm handoff from us. We keep in touch with you throughout the process to make sure you are getting the help that you need. And then when you get to the part where it's time for funding, we then put you in that pipeline to get those funds because you've already done all the work in the front end of getting that idea workshopped and strengthened. So it's going to
comment real quick, Kelly.
Sure.
I think a great example of that, I was talking to someone today, and they said that previously in applying for the Artist Professional Development Grant, they opened the application and didn't know the answers to the questions. Even though it was about their own process, they didn't know how to answer the questions. And this new program puts that middle piece in where we are helping you figure out the answers to the questions first, so that when you get to the application, you know exactly what to write. So it's really just a little preparation that we're helping to connect with.
Yes, thank you, Rita. Yes, it's really, this letter of interest just kicks off the process for us to bring in tailored resources to help you workshop the idea or the business growth that you want to do. How can you get there, right? Because a lot of times it's going to be more than dollars. You're going to need help from, with marketing perhaps. Some folks need accounting help to get things simplified. Some people just need to talk over a potential pivot to their business that they want to do and are unsure about. So this is a way to kind of get you in the pipeline and that's our role, find the right resource for you, connect you to it, and make sure you're getting some benefit there. So by the time you get to the application for a grant, all of that work has already taken place. You've already gotten all of those resources and have started to really refine what you're working on it and found some folks to help you get that. And then our hope is how this will then work is that you're then plugged into those resources. So it doesn't have to be the last time that you work with, say, SCORE or York County Economic Alliance. You become part of that network and understand what is available to you. We hope that that will continue to help your businesses grow. So this is kind of like, okay, so who is a creative entrepreneur? Well, it's a person that's 18 years or older that resides here in York County for at least a year. You have in good standing with us about any grants you may have received before. You receive less than $200,000 a year of revenue, however you track that, whether it's from your creative practice, your business, any of those things. We are going to give funding priority as based on our partnership with the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts to entrepreneurs and artists that identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color, and those who are located in and work benefits low-income communities as defined by the Small Business Administration. That would be communities such as York City. Artist creators who work at partner organizations of the Cultural Alliance can apply. So if you are an artist that is employed, let's say as a teaching artist at Creative York, you're welcome to apply for your own creative projects and businesses. When we say creative entrepreneur, the categories are broad, which is great. We're really looking for a real swath of folks. So marketing, advertising, and marketing agencies qualify under this. Architecture firms and architects, visual arts, crafts, makers of all kinds, design, product design, interior design, graphic design. We know that some folks in Pittsburgh, our partnerships in Pittsburgh are working with gamers who design video games. So you've got digital game companies, programmers, film and media. York has become a real great place for filmmakers to really share and start to work and start to film in. So we're seeing lots of filmmakers here in New York doing more of their work here. So that qualifies. Music and entertainers, it's not just the musicians, but the producers, the venues, they all qualify as well. And publishing, print, writers, content creators, all those folks who are doing shareable content. And what's not is if you're going for a specific degree or certification, that does not qualify for this particular resource. Grant recipients can only receive one grant per calendar year. So once you get one, that's your grant for the year. And any of us, if the staff of the Cultural Alliance cannot apply. Okay, there's a lot eligible for funding. So this is not the do-all be-all list. We're definitely willing to talk with anyone who has an idea. But these are just some examples to help you kind of envision what you can use this funding for your business. If you need to go someplace, right? So maybe if you attended this big global conference, it would change the trajectory of your business. That would qualify. Registration fees for continuing education that could help you, workshops, tuition costs, taking a specific course on something that you've always wanted to learn that can help you grow your business. Printing of materials, marketing pieces, website, studio, rehearsal, rental space, retail space, project-based, worked costs, okay, if you wanted to do a specific project that promotes your business, trade shows, festivals, research and development into maybe the next step for your business, marketing and promotion. So, those kind of things, we're pretty wide open on some of the things we're looking for. Basically, what is your idea for taking your practice a step further? What could really help you there? That's what we're looking for from you. And then we can work with you once we have that. We can't cover tuition with a degree or certification program, work that's already been created or things that have already taken place. It's not a reimbursement for things you've already done. Work or business expenses that are completely ongoing. It's really not this isn't a great use for bringing on a staff person because it's not going to sustain that staff person per se. This is more of a one-time, influx into your business to move it forward. Religious activities, staff positions, we said, medical and most accounting fees. Now, again, if it seems like you need some help getting, let's say, a specific business license or get your LLC or something of that nature, the folks over at the Small Business Administration Office are great with that kind of consultation and connecting you. We also do have work lawyers for the arts, which is pro bono and reduced legal help that we can connect you to as well. And then food and hospitality costs are usually outside with this partnership with Pennsylvania Council. They don't count that. So we talked a little bit about the Navigator role. Navigators are people who we are, right now we have an open application for those folks who are looking to become navigators. We're taking applications for them. Rita has been doing a great job getting the word out about this position. It's a group of folks around our community who basically will provide guidance, resources, and technical assistance to you. They basically will be your guide through the process. So once your letter of interest is submitted, we'll look through it and match you with a navigator who can help take you to the next steps. They'll talk with you about what your ideas are, kind of suggest some great ways to get more information and resources to help you fine tune it. And then when you're ready and your navigator feels you're ready for the next step to get funding for that idea, they will then refer you back to us and we'll put your application in the pipeline. So they're really a person who is a connector in their community. They're someone who's really comfortable in working and talking with people. They're very much flexible. They are really understanding of the different needs of creatives and artists in our community. So they're really a person who's gonna want to see you succeed. They're gonna want to be your champion and help you to get to the next level with your practice. So that they are going to give about 10 to 15 hours a quarter, so every 3 months. So they're going to be having up to 3 one-hour meetings with you as an applicant. And our navigators receive facilitation training as well as ongoing support in their role. And they also get a development grant so that they can continue their work and kind of pivot and be trained to help with this navigator role. And then they're not applying for the funding with you. So that is a way for us to make sure that the navigators are getting what they need to be better and better navigators. And they will also get a quarterly stipend for that meeting. So we do have that application open for navigators now. It's there at our website under culturalyork.org, Cultural Alliance Navigators. So if you want to have an interest in that role at all, you can apply there. We are accepting up to 5 navigators this year, and 2 of those navigators, because we received a grant from the William J. Wareheim Foundation, will be based in Hanover. So 2 from Hanover, and then 3 from the rest of our York County community will be our navigators for 2022. Okay, it's time for questions. Any questions, everybody? I will stop sharing my screen.
Yep. Well, darker than I thought.
Perfect. It's a lot of information crunched down into a short period of
It
time.
is. All right, so as you have questions, Rita and Jennifer and I are all here at the Cultural Alliance to help. So all the information is on our website. I saw that Rita put that in the chat, but our emails, I'll put them in the chat as well.
I don't know why you trailed off and got really quiet all of a sudden, but that was weird. But I'll post everything. And like I said, it's in the website. All the information that Kelly just put on those slides, and I'm going to actually post those slides as content on the website that even has more information too. And the video has been recorded, so we'll be able to go back and look at it. But like we said, we understand that really the most helpful thing is one-on-one contact and experience. So we are all available for anything. If you have an idea and you're not sure if it fits, it only takes a few minutes to fill out a letter of interest for the Creative Entrepreneur Accelerator program. Yeah, thanks, Debbie.
I just wanted to say a few things, if I could. So program stream entry track is brand new. That is still going to be going through the Cultural Alliance, the Fountain application on our website. But if you need to do the AOAP, that is actually going to go through the state website, which is the DCED website. So it's www.dced.pa. So if you have any questions with that, we'll go through that later.
And we'll put a link to the AOAP application. So I'm sure people will try coming to us first. We'll make sure that folks find that. On this particular webinar, like Debbie Mancuso, you would definitely be a candidate for the program stream entry track. That I think lines up better. And we talked about that before. I think that's really kind of where you'd fall. So AOAP entry track is going to be for larger organizations that aren't current AOAP partners. So we're going to have to do some digging to see if anybody in our area qualifies for that. But that's more on that side. But yeah, the entry track will go through us on the program side, and Jennifer's always great about answering those questions, and we'll have that ready for November 29th. If you subscribe to our grants mailing list, that's also on our website underneath grants. Definitely do that. Anytime any funding of any kind comes across our plate, we send that out, whether it's through us or not. So we will make sure to keep updating you on anything that comes through. We didn't mention this, but again, the YOCO Strong grants are currently available for nonprofit and for-profit businesses in York County. That's operational dollars through the American Rescue Plan funds that were given to the County of York. I know that they have some size requirements that can preclude smaller groups from going through that, but it's definitely worth a look. Those grants are still open. I think they close on the 22nd, and that's at yocostrong.org. So that's another one that's out right now.
God, this is terrible.
Other questions?
Kelly,
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can.
Can you go over all the different things you just talked about and give us a contact person for each one of those?
So for
Who's
all
in
grants,
charge of?
We all are. So there's really all three of us, but I'd say your best starting point is, let's say Jennifer. Jennifer, how do you feel about that? Most of these grants we talked about are falling under Jennifer because they're from the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. So Jennifer is your contact for like program stream entry track, right? If it's a Pennsylvania Council grant, Jennifer's your person. Rita is really our point person when it comes to creative entrepreneur and artist funding. So if you're looking to see if Creative Entrepreneur Accelerator is for you, that's great to pass that through Rita, and her email's in the chat as well. And I play support for both of their roles. So we don't mind getting emails, multiple emails. Email us all, why not? Send it to all three of us, someone will pick it up. But yeah, I really think the program entry track is something where you'd find helpful, Debbie. I think that's for you. And Creative Entrepreneur Accelerator, that's for next year, I think is a good target for anything else you're looking to do with the business. Okay.
Sounds good.
Great. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. If you're going to have questions, this is a lot of information. And also the Pennsylvania Council language can be super confusing. They are a government entity after all. We can translate for you, so just ask us. They do have different pockets of dollars now than they used to, so we're happy about their expansion, but it can be a little daunting to get through them, so that's what we're here for. So you're never bugging us. We're happy to hear from every one of you, and we're happy to help you navigate the systems to be successful. Okay.
Well, yeah, we're here.
All right. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hope to talk to you all soon.